Hey everyone, how are you today? It's Marla. My son keeps going in and out, in and out. It's fickle today. It has no idea what it wants to do. So you may see flashes of lightness and then darkness, lightness and darkness. Hey, we are just kind of a bare bones operation here. So you're just gonna have to deal with my lighting today because the content of this video I feel is so important. I had just put it out there. I was biting my tongue and saying to myself, I don't know if I really should be discussing this on a YouTube video or not, but the implications for it I think are so important that I felt it was necessary to kind of just let it out there. Now, how do I start this video? I guess you're probably wondering, what is she going to say in this video that has a title that says OCD, anxiety, depression, stressed out, and chronic pain? It covers a lot of territory. In order to understand sort of where I'm coming from in this video, you kind of have to understand my journey. And it's been a 7-year journey. I know that seems like a very long time, but I know other people are on longer journeys than I'm on. But it's been really a 7-year journey. Now, I'm not here to kind of tell you that I have anxiety. I'm not here to tell you I have depression. I'm not here to tell you, I do have chronic pain because I have fibromyalgia. But I have learned to kind of deal with that. And it's kind of just who I am as a person and how I've learned to kind of retrain my mind. But it's really been kind of a 7-year journey for me taking care of being in the presence of my one son, who has over the 7 years suffered at times from moderate to severe OCD, general anxiety disorder. And kind of coming to a realization within the past couple of months of kind of like an enlightening moment. Have you ever had something where you've read it or seen something, all of a sudden all the pieces come together? It's kind of like a light bulb goes off in your head. It's like your aha, wow, I get it moment. And that recently happened to me. Give you a little history. I don't know how many of you know anything about mental disorders, but a lot of mental disorders run in families. Mine definitely did. I have a very strong. A lot of people in my family had severe anxiety issues, rumination problems, worrying problems. I know my mother suffered from anxiety from the time she was 16 till the time she died. Excessive anxiety to the point of not being able to live almost within her own skin, even on medication, because she was trying to always she never really kind of lived in the present. She was always living in the past or living in the future, but not really ever living in the moment, in the present, and accepting the moment as it was, just the way it was unfolding in front of her. But when you're a kid, you don't get that. All you know is that your mom's kind of cranky a lot of times, and you really don't get what anxiety is when you're 10 years old or 8 years old, if you don't suffer from it from yourself, which I never really did. And then my son came up to me and expressed some problems he was having when he was in middle school, and it turns out that your brain goes through a lot of different times in your life when it's kind of firing off. I don't understand the whole mechanisms of the brain, but from sitting in psychologists and psychiatrists' office hours and hours and hours and hours and hours upon end for the past several years, I've kind of picked up some pieces of information. And there's a couple times in people's lives where certain things can kind of be set off in the brain. And a lot of times it's in middle school and then again in high school area. But anyway, I'm not here to kind of get into the nuts and bolts of my son per se, because I really value and appreciate him and don't want to kind of put him out there in public. But I'm here to kind of, recently I was watching some YouTube videos of people I follow, some gurus, just some funny people that I enjoy watching, and they've kind of come out with the fact that they suffer with anxiety. And I've been dealing with my son who suffers from anxiety. OCD is an anxiety disorder. And we really we're kind of at a loss recently. The past 2 years, we've kind of been at a loss in some respects. You know, he's gone through all the exposure response therapy. He's gone through cognitive therapy, medications, but he was always trying to reach a state of getting better, of no longer having these kind of intrusive thoughts that would always plague him. And we were recently at a cutting edge psychologist. We were in touch with a cutting edge psychologist, and we were seeing him and having regular visits with him. And I remember distinctly him kind of telling my son that he needed to get involved with meditation and mindfulness awareness, body scans, blah, blah, blah. So I was sitting in the office with him when he was going over this, and we went home with the relaxation, the breathing relaxation kind of instructions. And my son did it and did it and did it and did it. And he came up to me after a few weeks and he said, "This is not working. It's not working." And I thought to myself, wow, you know, it just must not work for him. And recently, we had given up the mindfulness breathing techniques because I had never been aware of the word mindfulness in my entire life. When I thought of mindfulness, I thought of meditation, I thought of hippies, I thought of religion. It's not that. It's mindfulness has nothing to do with religion. It doesn't even have to do with the typical kind of old-time kind of hippie meditation that you think about. Mindfulness now is becoming very cutting edge and getting really into the mainstream. It's being taught in medical schools. It's now being taught actually in schools. I know some parents object to that, but the parents that object to it, I don't think really kind of get what mindfulness is really all about. It's about focusing on the present and awareness of the present. And I started doing a search again for mindfulness on the internet, listening to YouTube videos over and over again from this doctor and that doctor. And I finally came upon a video by Dr. Jon Kabat-Zinn, and I'm going to put a link for the video that kind of changed my mind. It was the kind of the aha moment for me. I watched this video and I was mesmerized. It was just kind of a jaw-dropping moment for me because he explained why my son was supposed to be doing the meditation. How really to look at his life and kind of change the way he looks at things in a different way. A lot of people that have OCD, and just for people who don't know, OCD comes in a lot of forms. A lot of times people are very familiar with the hand washing type of OCD, but OCD also comes in many, many forms. A lot of it involves intrusive thoughts that have nothing to do with physically, like touching phobias or touching a snake or washing your hands. Everything's up in the head. OCD is a lot about living not in the now. It's about thinking about the past, having anxiety about the future, but not living in the present. So again, I recently watched a presentation that was done at Dartmouth College by Dr. Jon Kabat-Zinn. Dr. Zinn has his PhD in molecular biology from MIT. He opened I don't know the exact name of it, but it's the Mind, Body, Stress Reduction Clinics. I think they started out in 1979 at the University of Massachusetts Medical School. He speaks all over the world, has traveled all over the world. He's spoken at Google. He goes to large corporations to speak with executives on how to kind of deal with the stress in their lives, how to view things differently. And I had my son, who's an athlete, who's not an intellectual. I mean, he's a smart kid, but he's not, an intellectual. Sit down in front of this, the 1,000th YouTube video I've shown him, or the book I've shown him about OCD, and reluctantly at first watched this presentation. It's an hour-long presentation. And he sat there and his mind, his perceptions of the way he looks at his disease have been radically changed. I don't know if any of you and as I was saying, there are different forms of OCD, but OCD is almost like, it's like a diabetes. It's like any chronic disease. You are not cured of OCD. You're just not. You may have times in your life where it's more in the background than it is the foreground, but it is with you. That's just the way it is. And my son always had a hard time accepting that. My son always felt there was a place where he was going to get better. Just like people with chronic pain a lot of times have a place where they either are looking in the future as to, oh, I need this or this medication, maybe I'll get better, or in the past, why can't it be the way it used to be? Why can't I feel the way I used to feel? And the one thing that I thought was quite interesting that Dr. Zinn, I'm going to call him Zinn, I'm not going to call him by his first name, Dr. Zinn, brought up that kind of really just made me really think about things is he said, a lot of times your body's in one place, or most of the time your body is in one place, but your mind is in another. You're taking a shower in the morning, your body's in the shower, but your mind's already at work. Things that we don't normally think about sometimes, but that are so true. Our mind automatically has a sense to want to ruminate and wonder in the past, think about, maybe worry about the future. But a lot of times we're not in the present moment with total awareness of everything that's going on around us and in a non-judgmental way. I mean, you can have thoughts. Sorry about that. I always have phone calls kind of like at the most inopportune times. But what I'm trying to get across is that for people that have anxiety, for people that suffer from depression, OCD, chronic pain, stressed out, and just a general way to focus and live your life, not with any goal really per se, not to reach or attain anything, just to kind of live your life, is to live it in full awareness of the moment that you're in at this present time, which is now. Because the past is the past, and you don't really have the future. All you have is this present moment in time. And if you can focus on this moment with all of your senses and be fully aware of everything that's going on around you at this time, even while all these thoughts may be flying through your head, good thoughts, bad thoughts, whatever, and looking at those thoughts non-judgmentally, almost like they're just bubbles, just little bubbles that you used to blow when you were a kid, just random thoughts that are just almost looking at them as you're standing back, observing them going through your head, so you're not really tying any emotion to them. I have found that by doing this myself, it has helped immensely with pain management. Now, I don't know if I mentioned this in the early or part of this video, but mindfulness has been around since kind of 1979 when it all kind of started happening in the States with him opening up. I believe he was kind of the first one at the forefront that opened up the clinics at the University of Massachusetts Medical School area up there. But back then, meditation, all this stuff was thought of as a religion and kind of hippie-ish. Now, if you talk to some of the cutting-edge physicians that are treating patients with anxiety disorders, depression, chronic pain, a lot of chronic pain management centers at big universities are incorporating mindfulness techniques in their pain management. If you look at some of the universities across the country, there are mindfulness courses going on right at the universities for the students to help them focus and help them deal with the stress. And kids are under a lot of stress today. Kids really have a hard time focusing today because there's so much that's kind of trying to get their attention between their phones and their emails and their friends and this drama and that and things going on at home, that a lot of times they go to school and they can't focus. When I showed this to my son and it started to help him more than I've seen anything help him, more than the meds have really helped him, more than his years of therapy alone without the mindfulness have helped him. I felt the kind of need to actually at least present this to people that may be dealing with anxiety, depression, maybe dealing with chronic pain, or just stressed out. Again, this is not a religion. Mindfulness-based stress reduction therapy is not a religion. It is more, and I'm not selling anything, but maybe I am selling an idea. And just a suggestion, if you're dealing with any of these problems, you may want to at least take a look at the presentation that was done at Dartmouth by Dr. Zinn, that I put the link down below for. Now there's kind of like a mini, there's a female that does an introduction for him, and she's really kind of boring. So I put down there exactly when Dr. Zinn actually starts speaking in the lecture, because it's, like I said, it is an hour long, and listening to her speak, you'll fall asleep. You'll just be like, oh my gosh. And again, Dr. Zinn is brilliant. He, as I said before, has his PhD from MIT. So some of the things he says, even though I was a chemist, as an undergraduate chemist, and I have my major in chemistry, some of the things, and I've taken a lot of biology, some of the things he said were a little bit kind of over my head. But the main points that he points out in his speech, I felt they were things that are almost like right in front of your face, but you just don't see. And I guess that's the best way to put it. It's kind of like, wow, I never thought of kind of living my life that way and how you go about doing it. So I just wanted to offer that out there, because we have been struggling, I and my son, watching my son struggle with his problem. As I said, as I've been looking at my favorite YouTube gurus, they have mentioned recently, a lot of people have come out and said they suffer from anxiety, but not really, I haven't heard anybody mention the kind of the wave of mindfulness-based stress reduction therapy, which really, if you speak with a lot of the cutting-edge psychiatrists and psychologists, they are using in conjunction with the cognitive therapy, and also for people that have phobias and OCD with the exposure response therapy. I am hopeful that anyone who's interested in listening will click on that link below, and maybe it will help you as much as it helped even me deal with my chronic pain, and is helping my son. It's a daily thing. It's not something like you do one time and, oh, I feel better. That's not what it is. You almost have to hear him present it in order to understand kind of what ramifications the idea of mindfulness living really mean. Again, many schools are now trying to put this in the schools. I know some schools parents fight it because they think it's a religion, but it's not really. It is not. It's a way to help to get the kids to kind of be more balanced, help reduce their anxiety. And what kid doesn't have anxiety now? Just look around, everybody getting shot up in high schools and junior high schools, and kids killing each other that are 12 and 13. Kids are dealing with a lot of crap now and have a lot of anxiety and a lot of anger almost. It's a way of getting them to be able to deal and accept their lives the way they are at the current moment, and appreciate what this moment offers them. So that is kind of my speech for the day. And as I said before, I was very reluctant to put this video up because I'm usually here joking and kind of sticking with makeup and crap like that and stuff to take the calluses off your feet. But this has changed my perceptions almost of reality so much, and has helped my son so much, that I thought it was almost necessary for me to put this out there for anyone who is interested in, or knows a friend or has someone that is suffering from any type of mental disorder. And the more I feel that mental disorders are spoken about, the more they will be viewed like any other disorder that someone has, for example, diabetes, juvenile rheumatoid arthritis, things like that, that most people say, oh, that's, she has that, that's too bad, But people are afraid to say they have a mental disorder. There's always a stigma associated with that. So hopefully if we talk about it enough, kids that do have it in high school and middle school won't be embarrassed, feel like freaks, and will be treated like anyone else with any other disease. Take care. I hope you guys have a wonderful day. I will see you hopefully next week with a makeup review, a little bit lighter note. Take care. I will see you soon. Bye-bye from Marla.